Welcome. Today I wanted to do something a little different. We're gonna take a trip back into the past. We're going to be reviewing 50 games that we've played before, and we're going to rank them S to D, as you can see, and then I added one more extra category, non-rankable. It's gonna be either games that I feel is just straight up unfair to use them to rank other games, or like they're just not a game or something like that. Alright, so we're gonna start from the very first game that we played, Bunmask. Okay, so it's a little puzzle platformer game, as you can see over here. And you basically pick up these, I don't know what these are, fucking like totems or something, and then you use them to like solve puzzles and you know, get through the level. So this is going to be our progenitor game. This is the very first game that we've played. I think Bunmask is a fine game. It's a good game. It looks nice. It has a cute little basic pixel art style. I wouldn't say the mechanic is like the most jaw-dropping thing that I've ever seen, you know. Being able to use item, I feel like fucking every game has items in it that you can use, but it's a fine game. It's an okay game. It's enjoyable. Alright, next up, Piano Note Editor by Ozymantias. So this is our first non-rankable, and the reason why is, as you would assume from a name like that, this is not a game. What it is honestly more like a music program or something like that. Think of something like, you know, Fruit Loop Studio. But the only question that I really have, since, you know, I'm not someone who really makes music, why would someone use a music program made using Gamemaker? Like, think about this. We've got, as I've said already, Fruit Loop Studio, FL Studio, whatever it's called. More obscure, you have something like MuseScore. Why would someone use this? I don't know. I think honestly this is more so made just for fun by, you know, the guy who made it, Ozymantias, which I think is fair. There's nothing wrong with it. All right, next up, Gravity Storm first mission. We're going to rank this against Bunmask. Rather would I play Gravity Storm or Bunmask? It's a hard pick, not gonna lie. I think both of them, in terms of gameplay, they serve a very different purpose. This one is like a shoot 'em up, sort of like something, imagine like Mega Man, but Bunmask is a puzzle game. Honestly, I might put it above Bunmask just because I'm a fucking dumbass cunt and I'm bad at puzzle games, so I would better play a shoot 'em up. Did I mention that this is a very subjective ranking? I didn't say that this is like a very professional review or anything. It's basically just me thinking which one is slightly better than the other. I think overall, I had a alright time playing Gravity Storm. Its main gimmick is that you can control the gravity in the game. So it's essentially like V, but it's a shoot 'em up essentially. But I think it's fine. There, you know, nothing's wrong with it. Alright, let's go to the next video game. Honey, Where's My Supersuit? Someone sing the song. So this one, it's a game jam game, which doesn't really say a lot because I think Bunmask is also a game jam game. And its main gimmick is that you play as a superhero. It's sort of like a stealth game. You have to like avoid the vision of other people, and you're trying to like throw them out windows to save them. Yeah, it's only one level, so overall it's a very short experience. So it might put it a little lower on the rank. I think its main merit, I should say, its main merit comes from its visuals. It has a pixel art style in it. It's more complex than Bunmask, I'd say this. It's more detailed than Bunmask. However, gameplay itself is not the most interesting, I'm sorry to say. You just like throw people at fucking windows, essentially. And with only one level, I didn't see how exactly the creator tried to like expand upon the idea. So I would probably put this below Bunmask because one, it's short, and two, I couldn't really see how interesting an idea like this could be. Next up, The Lie. Please. The Lie is a game that we played a long time ago. I do believe it's a Hotline Miami inspired beat 'em up. And I think there's cool stuff about it. There's a little boss fight at the end, and once you beat the boss, you win the game. However, there are some part of it that I felt was also not the best. One part that I didn't really like is the fact that when you retread on certain areas of the game, the enemies, they spawn back up. Okay, how about another suggestion? Once the player has beaten this part, just make them not spawn again, okay? And that was kind of frustrating. However, I think overall it's a smooth game. There's nothing really like exactly fucked up or wrong about it, except for that one part. So I would probably put The Lie It's around the same as Honey, Where's My Supersuit, to be honest. It's not, once again, it's just sort of there, but I wouldn't say it's as good as Bunmask, because once again, it's a short game. It's also a game jam game, but I mean, think about it. Bunmask, if I remember correctly, is also a game jam game. I would say it's still alright. The Lie is an alright game. There's nothing wrong with it. Alright, next up, Mask of Balance. I don't remember if this is a game jam game. Oh yeah, it is a game jam game. Alright. So for what it's worth, if it's a game jam game, then probably on the same scale as something like The Lie or something. There are lots more levels in Mask of Balance compared to The Lie or Honey, Where's My Supersuit. This game had like fucking like, I don't know, fucking 5 or something? Jesus. And you could say, yeah, that's impressive, right? Well, there's more levels, so that means there's more contents in it. But here's the problem. A lot of the levels that I experienced, I'm not saying that none of the levels introduce like new mechanics or anything, but they don't do it very frequently. I think there are several levels in it where it's basically the same mechanic, but it was reused. I think that in the very first level, it already introduced the idea of like swapping to you. You can like swap your state between like, I don't know, yellow and red, angel or devil. And they also introduced enemies in the first level already. And then I think in the second and third level, it was still the same thing. And so it was kind of like not the most interesting. It was kind of boring, not gonna lie. In terms of visuals as well, it was not like most well made, I'm sorry to say. It was somewhat amateur looking. The main character, when it moves, it doesn't have like any animation. So this is probably our first D tier, I'm not gonna lie, I'm sorry to say. But I'm not saying it's like a terrible game. I didn't say like it was absolutely dog shit or anything. It is just probably not the best experience we've played so far throughout the series. That's what I'm gonna say. Alright, next one. I think it's Grand Avenue, right? So this is an endless runner game. It's mostly the same as the little dinosaur runner game that you get to play when you don't have Wi-Fi and you open up the Google browser. It's just, you know, the same thing. You can jump or you can like duck under. In terms of gameplay, I would say it's, unfortunately, it loses out on Bunmask, unfortunately. It doesn't exactly offer the most interesting gameplay because of that nature. It's just a runner game. You can't even like move left to right in it. You can only jump up or duck down. It's a fine game. Nothing else in the game really really had any problem with it. It runs smoothly. The animation, the visuals looks good. It's basically an upgraded form of the dinosaur runner game. Would I say it's better than The Lie or Honey, Where's the Supersuit? In terms of gameplay, I would say it might also lose out on them. It might even lose out on Mask of Balance, in all honesty. I'm not really the biggest fan of like runner games. In all honesty, these other games, The Lie, Bunmask, whatever, these reminds me of games that you see on maybe like the NES or something. This one, it's like an Atari game. Yeah, I might have to put it a little bit lower. But I would say maybe it's still better than Mask of Balance because at least it's a experience that is short. You run for as long as you can until you mess up, and then like the game ends right then and there. So yeah. All right, what's next? Project Space. Okay.
What's a devil to do?
It's another special case. If you want to talk about like its quality by itself, Project Space might be the worst game, no offense, but the worst game that we've seen so far. Because it's very basic, very, you can almost say like bare bones. It's a very basic little, like, I think Astro shooter game. Even the control is a little bit messed up for some reason. Like the little spaceship, it keeps like resetting itself to be pointing towards the right instead of like whatever direction you were pointing at. However, one thing that I think is pretty important to remember is that this is the first game that the creator has ever made. Can we really expect someone to make a Gravity Storm in their first project? Can we really expect hell even a fucking Mask of Balance? Might be too much. I think it's sort of unfair to expect someone as their first project to make something of that quality. So I would put this at another non-rankable. Alright, next up we've got Deadfuel. So I had quite a fun time playing this, I would say. It's a roguelike. It's a top-down shooter. Top-down shooters, we've only seen one so far throughout this series. The rest are either platformers or like stuff like that. And I think it's pretty fun. You have a bunch of zombies that you have to shoot down. And you get to like change your weapon, you get to find more like interesting weapon over time. I think it's a fun gameplay loop, and visuals in it is also pretty impressive. right here, you can see how they created this, like, it's sort of like a blind spot mechanic. You can only see the things that are like within your room or something like that. Truth be told, I'm quite impressed by that when I first played the game, and I'm still quite impressed by it because I have no idea how you do it in Gamemaker. I mean, I'm not the biggest expert when it comes to this game engine, but still. So yeah, I'd say this is a pretty cool game. I'll put this as A. This is our first A. Alright, next up, Little Knight versus BMI. It is a chess-inspired puzzle game where you play as a... I don't even know what the fuck you call this thing. But basically, you move on a chessboard. You have the same movement scheme as the king from chess. And then you try to not get yourself checkmated by other chess pieces. When I first played it, I understand that there's nothing really like hard to get in this game. I think it's a fine game. There's nothing particularly wrong with it, but I wouldn't say that it's exactly my type of game. There's also a slight sense of randomness in that game, I felt. The lose condition only counts when you yourself move into a space that they can checkmate. And you just, because there's a skip button right here, as you can see right here, you can basically just keep pressing the skip button until you find an optimal path that allows you to go to the exit, which is actually something that I've done. That process, I would say, it's not exactly fun. It's just basically waiting for a dice roll. Essentially, I'm just waiting for the die to like roll to a 6 or something like that. So I would probably put it at C. Would I put it above the lie? I could see more potential in the lie. I think, honestly, these games are just shorts because they're like game jam games. So I would probably put it below the lie. But I would probably put it above Grand Avenue because at the very least, there's more contents in it. Alright, next game. Parchments of Battle is a card game. I do believe it's the first card game that we played. It's a card game where you're trying to combine cards of yours to like make new cards, and then you have to like use them to fend off enemy cards. I'll be honest, it's not the easiest game to pick up. It has a tutorial in it. However, it doesn't really teach you how to play the game long term. It just has like point by point directions on what to do. So there's a taller learning curve to this game. So it might drop down a little bit because I don't think any other games we've seen so far has this problem. I later learned the only way that you can gain really essential critical resources is through a mechanic where you get one of your guy and then you use them to get resources from this thing. This is a Darklands. Now, these resources generate randomly. So sometimes you could have a run where you need a specific type of resource, like maybe iron or something. But the Darklands just would not generate something that can let you get more iron. To my knowledge, at least, this is the only way you can get resources. So that's one frustrating part about this game. This is an unfortunate game because it feels like it wants to be good. There is elements in it I could see where if it's just not for these like really, like honestly pretty bad problems, it could have been a fun game. You know, at least with every other game actually, I would not say there's like one elements in it that makes it so that, okay, you're just fucked in terms of like progression. You just can't really progress and your only action is to wait. So maybe because of that, I would put that under BMI. Which I think even then is like sort of unfair. I mean, fucking hell. There's so much stuff in it that's like more interesting than BMI, but it's just because that one part that like fucks it over. Alright, let's get to the next one. Rondo's Romp. It's a platformer game where you play as this dog and then it can like pick up stuff and throw it at people. I would say it somewhat has a similar problem as Parchments of BadOmen. It is a fine game, once again fucked over by one thing. It is fucked over by its control. Now, to be fair, on the website itself, it's already said this is a game designed for a controller. But the problem is I don't have a controller. I only have mouse and keyboard, so I played it with a mouse and keyboard. The main mechanic in it, where you can throw things, it is extremely difficult to do on mouse and keyboard, because how you do it essentially is that this like little fucking crosshair, it moves by itself. It just automatically moves up and down, and you have to like match the time to throw it. So it makes a lot of the parts in the game just more difficult than it needed to be. However, the main frustrating point that I felt is not that, oh, this is just like difficult to use, right? It's just that, at least from my perspective, I feel this is such an easy problem to fix. Just use the mouse. The good thing about keyboard and mouse control is that you have a mouse. You have a goddamn mouse, right? So instead of having to use all your control on the damn keyboard, maybe you can just let me, you know, control this little crosshair with my mouse and use my damn mouse to fucking throw these rocks and whatever. That would have made the experience much better. As for the rest of the game, it's more or less a pretty competent platformer. As you can see, the visuals are pretty cute. It's got this like cartoon art style. The rest of the game is competent. If it's not for the fact that the control is fucked, I would probably put it in B. But because the control is fucked, I need to lower its rank a little bit. Alright, so I would probably put it here. What's the next game? Olmec's Jump Training. It is a cute little mini game. You have a time constraint and you're trying to jump on top of as many cardboard people as possible. So once again, these are like sort of those mini games where it's sort of difficult to compare them because it's just such a short game. It's at the same level as something like Grand Avenue over here. Its main adversary for this battle, I guess you could say, would be Grand Avenue because they're in a somewhat of a similar category. These two games are not exactly here because they're bad. It's just simply because they are in that category of like small mini games with not a lot in it that like I could actually play. So like these two are like side by side essentially. I can only say like which one's ever so slightly wins out on the other one. We're just talking in terms of vibes at this point. I don't know, I guess I like Grand Avenue more because I like a game where it's set in like, I guess like a contemporary setting rather than like a fantastical setting. Let's talk about the next one. Astro Battle Orbital Defense. It's sort of like a tower defense game. The main control and the main things you do in this game is buying upgrades, buying more turrets, buying more stuff to defend your, I guess, mothership. Because of that, you play a more passive role in this game. It's almost like a crossbreed between a tower defense and an idle game, I would say. Personally, I just prefer playing games where like I get to play a more active role. Another thing in this game is that when you lose, you don't exactly lose a lot. Basically, what happens is nothing happens when you lose. You just go back and try again, and you still keep the resources. It sort of, you know, removes challenges from the game. However, there are, you know, definitely merits to this game. I think this is the first game that is a non-pixel game that we've played. The artwork in it is quite detailed. I quite like it. So I would put it maybe above Rondo's Romp, maybe. Alright, next up, Project Conquest. So this is the first RPG game that we played. And obviously, RPG games are going to focus more in terms of stories. Now, I think you can tell I'm not exactly a story guy, but I'll say one thing, I did try to like get into it. I was not just like taking the piss out of the game, I did indeed try to actually, you know, try to enjoy the game. There's battle mechanic in it, and it's somewhat, I don't want to be mean, but it's sort of just like Undertale again. You know, Undertale sort of created this bullet hell battle mechanic, and it's sort of hard to like differentiate yourself from it. I can see they tried. They definitely tried. They turned it into like this like grid thing, and you need to move on the grid. So yeah, I can give them credit for that. Maybe I'm being too mean. Maybe I'm being too harsh. You know, I should give them credit for, you know, attempts. You know, I would put it probably around here. I'd say. Would it necessarily be better than or worse than BMI? I don't know. Honestly, I would say like somewhat depends on you, but I might want to play BMI more because there's less reading in it. I don't fucking know. All right, let's go on to the next game. It's Monster Brew. Blow up into basically, you have this pot. You're trying to put as many ingredients into this pot as possible, and then you're trying to serve the ingredients to one of your customers. And you only have so many rounds to put in ingredients. But then there's also like these special ingredients that have like fucked stuff in it that would like mess up your whole pot. So you're trying to get as many ingredients into it, but trying to not fuck yourself over. I remember I had quite a fun time playing this game because it's pretty interesting to try to balance between the luck and, you know, trying to get efficiency. I would say it has also like somewhat of a higher learning curve though, because the first 3 times I didn't necessarily understood how to play. So where will we put Monster Brew? So I would say maybe put it on B. I would say it's about on the same part as Bunmask. There's no necessarily any big differences between these two games. So that's Monster Brew. Let's go on to the next one. Ghosts with Hats. It's a interesting little game. It's a racing game. So when I first played it, it seems relatively complicated because it's the first racing game, I should say, that I've ever seen where there are 3 goddamn bars on your character. But I think it's not necessarily something that is like you constantly have to pay close attention to. I don't know. So Ghost with Hats is not like a game jam game, so there are several levels in it. It was like each level are the same. It doesn't really offer any new stuff. It's just the same thing over and over. In fact, each level are so similar. I would honestly put it down to like one of these games, these like mini games almost, which is a little bit sad because it's meant to be a game with like a lot of content in it. But yeah, I don't know. It's a sort of a sad situation, isn't it? And I also remember just now the lapses. You have to go through a lot of lapses. Normally in most racing game, it takes like, I don't know, 3 to 4 laps. This game, one of the levels, it took like 5 lapses. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, at least with these 2 games, right? They take shorter. So next game we got the Harakin. This game, it's definitely probably the biggest production we've had so far throughout this series. It has 3 entire sections in it actually. There's like a hub area where you're like upgrading your own stuff. You can interact with different NPCs and such. There's another area which is like a space exploration area. And once you got onto the different planets, you have like a special mission and you're like trying to kill bosses and then use resources you've gathered on the planet to like mix other new items and like fucking new weapons, whatever. It's a very big game. And would I say I had a fun time with it? Yeah, probably. I mean, okay, so first of all, another problem with a game with such a large scope is that it would have a much higher learning curve, and it is a similar problem that we're faced in Parchments of Battle, where a lot of the time it's just simply the game telling me what to do, but I'm not truly understanding like what should I do next. And it seems that also the control wants to be a more sophisticated type of control. There are a lot of like different mechanics like parrying, you can do combos and such. I chose probably the most complicated character archetype or like class, whatever the fuck we call it. You have like also these like cards that you can use, so there's like a deck building mechanic on top of it as well. But I think overall it's a fun game. I had a fun time with it. So I would say it's probably above Gravity Storm. Next game. We got CROC-O-DIAL. CROC-O-DIAL, it is a little tower defense game where the main gimmick is that you have this number pad. You're assigning these little like crocodiles to these numbers, and then you use them to like defend yourself against pufferfish. I think the main problem with this game, usually for a game jam game, I think about, okay, how can you expand upon that idea? And I thought about it and I thought, okay, this is a game that is very hard for you to expand upon, because a lot of the time when you play a tower defense game, and upgrading stuff is like a big part of the game, right? You think about stuff like balloon tower defense. One of the biggest thing in the game is that you can upgrade your tower, and there are like different paths that you can go with the tower. The idea of using a number pad makes it so that it's harder for you to do that in this game, because the fire rate is going to be tied to the number pad system. And throughout the game as well, I felt it was this sort of drab as well. Like the puffer fish didn't necessarily have like a lot of like interesting mechanic related to them. It's somewhere around like maybe around the same as like runner games, in all honesty. Next one, Slick Racing. It is a rage game. It is a rage control game. The main gimmick is that it is a racing game, not necessarily like a full-on racing game because you don't have opponents. It's you race against yourself. You're racing against time. The main gimmick is that its control is very slippery, extremely slippery. You have to basically go at snail's pace if you want to complete a level. But that's not necessarily fun, is it? So it challenges you to try to get you to actually move faster despite the extremely slippery control, and that's where the challenge comes from. As a rage control game, it's somewhere between like, you know, stuff like I Am Bread and Super Meat Boy, where yes, it's a rage control game. The control is meant to be frustrating, but there is still skill involved, and I think the amount of skill involved, it's definitely more on par with something like Super Meat Boy. I could tell like maybe there is like a speedrun category for this game or something. These two, what's it, Astro Battle that game, had basically the opposite problem of this, where it's just this one is just too difficult for me. Astro Battle is like too simple. So yeah, I would probably put it on par with each other, something like that. Alright, next one. The Plunge of Sludge. This one is a pretty fun little roguelike game. So I like roguelike games. And it's a roguelike game where you play as this little pile of slime. And I think that the main problem I had with this game is that some of the enemies had too much health. This like crystal looking motherfucker over here, I think I had the biggest problem with him. It is an enemy that is difficult to dodge. It has a lot of health, 5 hits to kill it. It's hard to hit as well. Okay, that's the third thing. And this is not the only one. There are several other enemies where it has like a somewhat similar problem as well. So it makes the game a lot more difficult. But I think that's like sort of the main problem I had with it. The rest of the game was enjoyable to me. It felt satisfying to like, you know, get new upgrades. I saw like several upgrades where there are like pretty cool synergies. Like this melee attack combined with this knife that makes it so that you have like this massive fuck off sword. You know, once again, it's another game that's fine, but it just has this like one thing that sort of like fucks it up a bit. Alright, next game. We've got Dynamite Hat TNT Sin. Alright, Dynamite Hack. Not Dynamite Hack, that's a different thing. It's a game where it's like a beat 'em up, and I think what I had to say about this game is that the visuals are very cool. I like the visuals a lot. It reminds me sort of like Friday Night Funkin'. But yeah, it's pretty wacky. I like the art style, very cartoonish, and the animation is also very smooth and very expressive. In fact, I would say so far throughout this series, this game probably has the best animation so far. But the main complaint I had for this game is that its gameplay is sort of drab. But it feels like you don't necessarily have to put in a lot of thoughts into how do you defeat an enemy. So it makes it so that you're sort of just defeating the enemies over and over again, but like not a lot of things changes. So what I wanted from the game is basically like maybe you can like unlock weapons, or like there would be like environmental hazards that you can utilize to defeat enemies. So yeah, I'm sorry to say maybe you lose out on Plunge, because I personally at least like Plunge of Sludge's gameplay more. What do we have next? Cruelty Crossing. It is a game where you essentially play as a YouTube prankster and you like deliberately mess with people. That's how you play this game. So it's also a game jam game as well, I do believe. Are there any like main complaints, first of all? Big complaints that I have with this game? Not really, in all honesty. Like, okay, the only thing that I had a complaint about was that throwable items in this game, you have to like hold a button to like charge up, and then it will throw in the direction that you're moving in, which is a little bit awkward to control sometimes. But it's not something that's game ruining, because first of all, not every item could be thrown. Secondly, it's not like the most difficult thing for you to overcome. So yeah, I think maybe we have another B tier. So would I say it's better than Monster Brew? Not necessarily, maybe. Actually, you know what? I'm going to move Monster Brew up a little bit. For a game like Cruelty Crossing, I did have fun with it, but it's not a game where you can, like, I guess, play seriously. And I feel like, it might lose the novelty over time. But it's still a lot of fun. I did have a great time just messing around with the other people in that game. Okay, last one for this, for episode 8. Bomb Squad. Oh, sister, don't. So Bomb Squad, I think per the creator of this game would probably agree as well. It might be straight up on the last tier on D. It is probably the only game I've played so far where I could just confidently say I did not have a good time. And I'm sorry to say it, but I hope the creator can understand this comes from me wanting them to make better games in the future. Bomb Squad is a game where, okay, first of all, it had a really weird intro that is somewhat creepy, in all honesty. And secondly, once you got into the game, the sound effects is extremely loud. There is no tutorial to teach you how to play the game, so I had to discover it by myself. The gameplay is just this like little board game where like you play as one of these bombs, I guess, and then you try to put your bombs into a square, and then like you try to take over the outer square. And it went on just too long, very long. At the end, I just sort of gave up on the game instead. Not only that, like other options in the game seems to be like almost not working as well. You can choose whether or not to have music, which doesn't seem to even fucking work. There's a restart button in here, which actually means go back to the main menu. But at the very least, after playing Bomb Squad, I got in touch with the creator and they showed me another game that they've been working on called Robot League, which seems to have much better visuals and seems to be like a cool little point and click adventure game. So yeah, you know, on the bright side, the creator improved their game making skill. So it's quite an inspiring story, isn't it? But let's just get to the next game. Next game, we've got PSI. So PSI by Paprika, it is a little top-down shooter where you play as this little blue guy and then you're shooting these like fucking energy waves or whatever these are. So I've said before that it sort of reminds me of a game called Post Void. Now I like Post Void. Post Void is a fun game. The main complaint I had for PSI, I do believe, is the control, where it was how you fire in this game, how you control the direction that you're firing in this game, I should say. It is controlled by, of all things, the direction that you started moving towards. It was sort of a weird design decision. Later on, I do believe the creators said that they made that design decision because they felt that it would increase the challenge in the game, which I guess a little bit. But at the same time, it's not something that you can't overcome. So it's, again, another game that I would say can land itself in B tier, right? Maybe if PSI introduced a way for you to upgrade yourself, then it would be better than Monster Brew. That's what I think. Alright, small revision as well. Maybe we can put Select Racing above a little bit, because I just realized, okay, if I say that the main way that I determine whether or not if some game should go to C tier would be if there's some like fundamental problem with the game that maybe like knocks it down a peg, then I would say, okay, Select Racing's main problem is that it's difficult, but it's meant to be difficult and you can learn to overcome it with enough skill. So maybe I would put it up tier. Alright, next game, Catastrophica.
Since you've been gone.
So again, this is probably another one that's going to non-rankable, because if it's not, it's probably going down to D tier, maybe even worse than, but okay, maybe not worse than Bomb Squad, but definitely not as good as Mask of Balance. It's a game, it's an extremely, I'll just say a bare bone game, where it's like sort of those toys where you have to like fill in the space, and there's only 3 levels as well, so it's like extremely short. So if we were to rate it fairly, then it would probably go down here. But the description said that this is the first time that the creator of this game has used Gamemaker, and they mostly just made this game more so just as a coding practice project. So I think it's sort of unfair if we, put it up against something like fucking, I don't know, the Harakin over here. Next game, we've got Tarot Tales.
I swear I'll run away.
It is another game jam game, I do believe. And in this game, you select like several tarot cards, and then it'll like make up a story for you. That's it. That's all. And not only that, I think that there was also a bug that we encountered. I don't know what's going on, if it's like bugged out or what, but when you select one of them, it seems to select another one by random. So I want to get the Hangman, but it won't let me. Okay, there we go. I don't even really know what genre to call this game. And yeah, overall it's just sort of, it's actually sort of drab, in all honesty, I'm sorry to say. And the visuals as well, there's not a lot of stuff to look at. It's just the cards, and the cards just have this like sort of sketchy art style to it that's like not really that well made either, I'm sorry to say. So yeah, not the best game, I'm sorry to say. So it's probably around the same level as Bomb Squad. Let's move on to the next game. So the next game, oh, this one is a good one. Hierotopia by Arrowfast. Let's just move Hierotopia. Where is it? Okay. One of the few S tiers that we're gonna get on here. Because Hierotopia sits in a very special place in my heart, where it's one of the few games where the theme or the aesthetic genuinely is something that is like, that would describe us right up my alley. It has a very heavy, cybernetic, somewhat body horror, medical theme. A lot of the words, a lot of the terms, well, if you just look at the game, you might not understand how is it like medical, cybernetic, what the fuck are you on about? You're on crack. But I'm also talking about the text in the game. Right off the bat, when you start the game, instead of just start game, it says deploy incision. They use terms like non-invasive, diagnostic, like these sort of like specialized terms for, you know, the difficulty. I just really enjoy a lot, and I look at the visuals over here. These sort of things like reminds me of like CROC-O-DIAL Squad, right? Which is a game that I quite like a lot. All of these like weapons, they're like described as like these injections of like fluids and whatever. This item called a lobotomy needle, which is like the sniper rifle in this game. Very cool aesthetic. I think it is the only game so far where the aesthetic genuinely makes me go like, wow, this is amazing. And not only that, the visual as well, right? You see this game it has this like really freaky, really weird like art style. It's like quite hallucinogenic. I think this is how the game described itself. And yeah, like look at this. What other game can you play where you play as this like strobe like motherfucking, I don't even know, jellyfish looking guy, and then you fight against these other guys, and then like when you die, look at what happens when you die. The entire screen like fucking freaks out and it turns into this like abstract painting looking thing. It's amazing. I love it. I absolutely love it. And not to mention that the gameplay itself is also like right up my alley as well. It's a roguelike top-down shooter, somewhat similar to stuff like Hotline Miami. And each level you get to choose a new item, a new upgrade. It could be like a passive upgrade, it could be the weapon you're using, or it could be like an active upgrade that you can use. It's just amazing, and it's one of my favorite games throughout this series. I would not say it is still the best game that we've played, because we've played a lot more other games already, but at least in terms of aesthetic, right? I still have not played a game where it matches it. I would put it this much. The theme is still so far my favorite. Alright, next up, Robo Monkey Remake. Robo Monkey Remake, it is this little platforming game. It had this gimmick where basically your character's lifespan is limited. It's limited to around a couple seconds, and you have to constantly be picking up batteries to refill your character's lifespan. Otherwise, you die. That's basically the biggest like specialty to this game. The rest of this game is more so just a pretty by the numbers platforming game. So unfortunately, in terms of like originality, this game sort of takes a hit because there isn't a lot of like things in this game that's like very unique. I would say the most interesting thing about this game is that during one segment there was this like massive fat fucking monkey that like rode towards you, and if you get caught by it, you die. That's like the most interesting part of this game. And there's and the art in that game, it's another pixel game, and it's somewhat amateurish as well. I guess you could say that it's like charming with it looking sort of like something that came out of like DeviantArt. I'll just put it around here, right? This is around the place where this game is supposed to go. Maybe Project Conquest has more to it than this game. What game do I have next? Manybody. Manybody, it's another game jam game, and in this game it's sort of similar to something like Badlands, right? Or that game on PS1 that you control a bunch of little things. And it's meant to be like a puzzle game. I guess it's pretty cool because it's a physics puzzle game. The main thing is that it's like sort of short, but it's a game jam game, so you know I don't necessarily have a lot of things to like say about that. You know, you can't really go on for too long with games like this. I would say if the game creator makes more, you know, interesting puzzles in it, maybe it would be better. You know, maybe they can introduce new mechanics in it. Maybe you can like grow some of your guys or shrink them to like get into small areas. You know, whatever. You know, stuff like that are what makes games like this special. So I would put it right here, I'd say. Let's go to the next one. Brick Odyssey. It's a breakout game, but it's combined with a roguelike element to it, and you can use breakout to fight bosses and such. There's also another type of upgrade called brick upgrades, which basically makes it so that during a level you encounter more of these like special bricks that gives you like different abilities and such. Like for example, some bricks could like earn you more money, some bricks can create like an additional ball, something like that. There wasn't like anything in it that like I felt was something that really drags the game down. So yeah, I don't know, maybe this game can go to another A tier, perhaps. it sort of feels sad that like games like Harakin, because I would say personally that is Harakin has more stuff going on in it than Brick Odyssey, but it's just Harakin has a more difficult learning curve to it, so it sort of, that's sort of what like drags it down a little bit. All right, next one, TTT3D. Okay, so what it is a tic-tac-toe game, but it is in 3D, right? But if you look at the gameplay, this is very clearly a 2D game, right? Why is it not in 3D? Well, the 3D actually comes in these several layers, right? There are 3 layers to the board, and then you're supposed to only be able to look at only 1 layer at a time. So that is sort of the main problem I had with the game. So it's definitely more complicated than tic-tac-toe, but fundamentally it is only tic-tac-toe in a 3D environment. However, it became a lot more complicated and lots more difficult to comprehend because of 2 reasons. One, you cannot look at the entire 3D board. Second, there are 4 players to a game, and you cannot play a 2-player game. So because of that, it knocks the game down quite a few pegs, Maybe actually I would put it down here actually. Think about it. At least with Grand Avenue, at least with Olmec's Jump Practice, is a game where I didn't necessarily have like a big problem with it, right? It is just simply the game also does not have a lot that you can expand upon. Tic-tac-toe is the same place, but it is also fucked up, and it also has a problem with it. Alright, let's move on to the next one. Duotone Rage Platformer by Royal Game Productions. It's, as you imagine, it's a platforming game. It's a rage game, and it's created by Royal Game Production. What the fuck am I even saying? I would say, okay, overall, it's another one of those games that's like, it's fine. There's nothing really wrong with it. I would say one thing, it has a creative design direction where like sometimes it wants you to utilize limitation instead. Like an example would be, I think in one of the levels, you actually like jump too far away. Instead, you have to like deliberately walk back a little bit. Yeah, time your double jump. You can't jump on here. You die, you like fucking hit the ceiling and then kill yourself. Instead, you have to jump from here and then double jump onto this platform. It seems like a game that's like, a dime a dozen and a platforming game. Fucking Super Meat Boy again. But I would say actually, it at least, hey, it tried to be different a little bit. So I don't know, maybe I'll put it around here. This area would be like the rage game area, right? Alongside like slick racing. Alright, moving on. Next one. Alright, now this one is a special one. York's Adventure. So, how about this? I'll just show you all of what the game looks like, okay? Let's try it out. Let's see what this is about. Okay. Alright. How do I put this? It speaks for itself, like... It's one of those games that I played because like I could not find a new game on Discord. So what happened is that I just searched by the most recent on Jig's games and I just played what's most recently uploaded on it. Very clearly it's like just some project made by some kid. So yeah, maybe we're gonna put it in non-rankable instead because there really isn't a point in like criticizing something like this. It's just borderline bullying at that point. Alright, let's move on to the next game. Nightmare Pig.
Welcome back, my friends!
I do believe this is another game that's probably like made by children. Mostly because there's voice acting in this game and you all can listen to it yourself. Hold on. However, I would say one thing. This seems more competent. It sounds really mean, I know, it sounds really mean. I'm saying that this sounds more competently made than the last one, but I mean, how else do I describe it? Like, alright, so Nightmare Pigs, it seems to be like a match between Peppa Pig and Five Nights at Freddy. Just like in Five Nights at Freddy, you're supposed to like survive to, 5 a.m. Here's the thing though, I tried on 4 occasions, I tried to like play it for 4 times. Each time I died by like the first encounter of like whatever the fuck these things are. I have no idea how to fucking figure this game out. Like the best I can do is like look at this fucking thing and then like later on I get jump scared. I think it's more fair to actually rank this instead of put this in non-rankable again, because it seems like they could actually make a good game if they tried. Somewhere like around here. Hey, if I doubt the person who made this game is ever gonna watch this, but hey, I know that they're kids and No, don't get discouraged by this, but I'm just, this is a very like personal think piece for me. I'm just like ranking these games from, you know, my own perspective. Last game for this video, Office Catastrophe. Okay, so I do believe it's a game jam game. Technically this is another runner game. You're this little cat guy, and then like these little exclamation marks pop up, and you click on them, and then if you don't click on them in time, you lose. Once again, you know, being a runner game, it's probably going down to somewhere around here. It has more stuff going on overall than these games. These games really just like have like one thing and you like do it over and over again. But this thing, technically it's also one thing, but like at least like there are like different forms of that thing, you know. Oh wait, there's actually one complaint I had though with this game. It's that its difficulty progression was too slow, and so it's like the first 3 minutes it just feels like it's static. It doesn't really change in any way. Yeah, maybe that might knock it down a peg a little bit, because hey, at least these other games, they immediately attain the appropriate amount of challenge, right, to make it enjoyable. But this one, at the mid-game point, it becomes just like boring, and I wanted to like turn the game off, so maybe I'll put it here. Let's move on to the next one. So this is Sandal Dash. Probably another one going into the runner games, because here's the thing, right? This game actually is one that is that's technically not endless. It's not an endless runner, but it plays like one. It might as well be one, because each individual levels, they did not introduce like anything particularly new. Like I played for like, I don't know, 4 levels, I think. Each one was basically just the same if you don't count the tutorial level. Yeah, it's just like what's there to say about that? If each level is the same, why even like individually design a level? But let's talk about how you play the game. The actual game is like pretty simple. You're the sandals, and then you're going to have to match like the grooves on the line in order to like move on to the next circle, and then you're trying to reach the goal. Pretty basic gameplay, but like every once in a while you have these like crabs and whatever that would like be in your way. So I would put it around, would I say it's better than CROC-O-DIAL? Maybe. Alright, next one. Coach Personal Simulator. So in this game, you play as this little guy, right? And then what you're doing is that you're supposed to like serve drinks and snacks and beverages or serve stuff for people on a bus. Here's the thing, right? I think it's meant to be kind of a rage game, and I did rage during that video. I said some pretty mean words in it. God damn it, motherfucker! Stupid fucking cunt. But I would say I actually enjoy the experience, because here's the thing, I enjoy like task manager games. I enjoy games where you like do stuff essentially. I'm one of those motherfuckers who plays the endless mode on Papers, Please, and it gives a appropriate amount of challenge, I would say. The only complaint I had with this game is that the tutorial it gave you, which is just basically this, you see this little like text pop up here, this is all the tutorial that you get, wasn't exactly enough for me to understand, because like they're basically the numbers you can see under here, the order of the snacks does not correlate to the actual how they actually show up in the bar at the bottom. I want to play this over an RPG game. I mean, maybe okay, I will put it here then. It is right at the middle. There you go. All right, last one. Himo.
My breakfast was straight out the meadow.
Himo is a game I found on GX Game, and it's a very special case. And why I say this is because it has one major thing that's going against it that makes it difficult for me to play. However, it's not the game's fault at all. The game is written in Japanese. I could basically only read the kanji because I can read Chinese, and you know those are like similar characters. So I could only read the kanji to roughly understand what is even happening. But obviously I can't fucking blame the game for that. Like, why don't I say every other game is bad because it's written in English? But here's the thing though. I think it's very impressive. It's a very impressively made game. And why is that? Because it is an entire RPG game in like a browser. It's an RPG game that's played in a browser. I enjoy the gameplay as well, despite not fully understanding it. They're like these little cabbage guys, these little monsters that you can fight. And it's instead of like a traditional like turn-based RPG thing, it plays more like Legend of Zelda. You're like trying to physically dodge their attacks. which is pretty interesting, I guess. I think for what it's worth, if I could actually understand it, then I think it would be a good game. So I would probably put it at B. I don't think I really had like that much actual complaints against it. So there you go. Let's move on to the next video. Okay, so this one, Dwarf Eats Mountain.
You don't know, but you.
This is an idle game, and I've said it in the video itself, and I'll say it again. Idle games aren't exactly my personal thing, but hey, I'll try to say, stuff that I like about this game. It did felt satisfying whenever you can, manage to blow up a mountain and then you get like a new item and such, like these artifacts. I think it's pretty interesting. But here's the thing, right? I've tried playing other idle games before. I think, Cookie Clicker is honestly the only one. And I felt that the most fun part about playing an idle game is probably like when you get to buy a new upgrade, right? I felt buying new upgrades in this game, progression felt just a tad bit too slow. Like over here, you see this little guy, this little like fortress thing over here. This is my main form of, I guess you could say, like income, where I'm like chipping away at this mountain and I'm gathering these golden ore and then I'm using them to like buy new upgrades. It took me almost, hell, at the very end of the video, which I think by that point I played the game for like at least 10 minutes by that point. It was only until then that I could finally get another like new upgrade. In Cookie Clicker, I think I got the second upgrade by around, I don't know, like the 3rd minute. So maybe we can put it around, like around here. Yeah, I think that's fair. But anyways, let's move on to the next game. The Adventures of Micah, Tractor's Fiasco. Unfortunately, it might be going to another D. I'm sorry to say. So here's the thing. It's a platformer game, which looks like this. The main character is over here, by the way. For most parts of this game, it's just basically this. It's just basically this like gigantic flat plane. For a platformer, you want to add in platforms, but this game takes a more avant-garde route, so like it doesn't have that many platforms in it, and every level kind of just is just this. And every 3 level you encounter a boss, and you think, oh, that's cool. There's a boss fight in this game, right? Oh yeah, and then all the boss does is that it moves back and forth like this. And then you just shoot at it every once in a while, and then like it goes on to the next one. Hey, there you go. There's actual platform in this one. There you go. I think I complimented them when I saw this part, and then it goes back to being like this. I personally would have put it in non-rankable at first, but then I saw that, okay, so how many games have this person made? So they've made like several other games already. I doubt that, once again the creator would watch this, but hey, I do look forward to your next project. But I would just say this is my personal perspective, how the type of game I personally like playing, and I would just say I'm sorry, but it was not the most enjoyable. All right, let's move on to the next one. Spectres of the Hearts. It's a cute little game. It's a cute little top-down shooter, where each level you try to fight against these like little demon guys or whatever these are. It isn't boring. I would say this. It is not boring, but there are some parts of the game that makes it so that, okay, it's sort of difficult or frustrating for me to get through a level. I wish there are more permanent types of upgrades in this game. The main upgrades, the main like form of progression you can have in this game with these like little usable little active items, yeah. And they are like one-time use things that like gives you a temporary effect. And some of them are like, I would personally say significantly better than others. Like this little torches just give you a light source so that you can see the enemies better. This guy gives you like straight up an extra health essentially. And the worst thing is that you can only have one of them at a time. So like you can't hoard them either. You can't use multiples of them. But overall, I still think it's a nice game. It's a pretty cool game. Each level, it shows you like a new enemy that you have to deal with, and each one of them offers a different type of challenge that you have to overcome. So overall, Spectres of Heart is a nice game. I think it can go into B. Yeah, I think this is like a nice place, right between PSI and Gravity Storm. All right, let's move on to the next one. Endless Escalation. So Endless Escalation, it's a tower defense game where you play as, I guess, a circle. You play as this little circle thing, and then you trying to like spawn in these little minions which are also just basic shapes, and then you have to like destroy your opponent's base. Here's the thing, it's not an easy game. Although it looks easy, right? Although it looks simple, it's a game that actually requires quite a bit of like strategy. I actually could barely even beat the tutorial. And afterwards, I actually managed to only beat level 1 in this video. Now, to be fair, I did play more of it. The video was actually cut down. But yeah, it's definitely an unusually challenging game. Like, you would not expect it to be this challenging from the looks of it. But would I say there's a downside to this game? Not really. I mean, at most I can only like categorize it as like a rage game. Maybe, unfortunately, under here, yeah, at the bottom of B tier, because personally I would think, personally I would think it's, I would rather play like a platforming game and such, because those games are easier for me to understand. There's not exactly anything. Those are like Motorix games, right? Those are psychomotor games. This is more of like an actual strategy game. Next one, Colorami.
Gonna build a castle.
It is a game that I quite enjoyed. It's a co-op game, but the thing is that I don't have any friends who would be willing to, you know, play this game with me. So you use these little balls to turn your guys into having these different bullets, and these bullets can like change the properties of like different materials and such. And I think that's pretty interesting. I don't really think I've seen another game that has like played with that concept before, except for one. But that game is like a 3D game. It seems like a pretty interesting idea to me. I'd say it's pretty unique. Throughout the game, I didn't really have any complaints, and its visuals are really pretty as well. I don't really have much complaints for this one. I think they did a pretty good job. So I think I'd probably put it around here. I probably put it at the bottom of A, though, just simply because it's a co-op game, so I can't like play it. Typically, I only play these games by myself. So okay, let's move on to the next one. The Curse. The Cure. Actually, I misspoke. Sorry. I guess you could say it's an arts game, right? So you play as this little girl, and then you walk around, and then there'll be this like little star, this crusty looking star over here. It tells you to pick up an item, and then you just move from left to right to pick up that item, essentially. In terms of gameplay, there really isn't that much. The only forms of gameplay that you could really say is that there was like this little area at the end. I think it's here, yeah. So you had to like go into this little fortress thing. In it, you see different doors, and then you have to enter them in the right order. Otherwise, it like bounces you back up, and you have to do it again. In terms of gameplay, there really isn't a lot to say. Like, if that's all, this is barely even a game. This is more like a walking simulator at a certain point. But I would say one thing though. I do appreciate its art. It definitely is a more unique art style. I don't think we've played any other game that has like a sketchy art style before that's in black and white. And so yeah, I think, you know, it's pretty interesting. And typically I don't really care for like stories and games and such, but like the setting, like it doesn't really have a lot of words, right? There's one thing that I hate about story focused games is basically there's too much words. I'm fucking retarded, I can barely read. So but like for this game at least, I feel it didn't have that much dialogue, but still it managed to intrigue me in like what is even happening in this world. Like why does the sky look like this? Why are we just this little girl going around like fetching these random fucking items? I don't think I can put it anywhere at B. I would say it's probably going around here. Okay, there we go. It's a short game as well. Alright, what's the next one? A Good Day to Pie. It is a tower defense game mixed with a sandbox game. It sort of plays like Terraria, but the main goal is not to simply just survive and like explore the world. Instead, you have to protect this pie in the middle of the map. And some parts of the game was a little bit difficult to like understand. It didn't explain exactly, like for example, how you're supposed to like get more than one turret. You're supposed to build this like turret capacity increaser or something like that. But like I didn't know in my first two gameplay. It's definitely a game with a learning curve alongside being just by itself somewhat more difficult. I would say that probably knocks it down a peg a little bit. I would have wanted to put it around at maybe B, but maybe it locks it down to like high C, maybe around here. Yeah, somewhere around here. There you go. Let's move on to the next one. Cyber Square Madness. It is a game that is somewhat similar to Plants vs Zombies. However, one main difference between PvZ and this game is that this game focuses a lot more on micromanagement. In this game, you kind of have to actively move around the buildings because you can actually just straight up pick up the buildings and then move them around. One specific building, you actually do that a lot. You basically like have to constantly hold it, which is the saw blade, because you can like actively saw against the enemies. It's pretty nice to see that although they are inspired by Plants vs Zombies, they still tried their best to make something unique out of it. So I give them one thing, I give them that. But there's another thing that I felt was a little bit unfortunate with this game, which is that it went on a bit too long. Essentially, it was a little bit slow. As you can see, like in the footage, I had to like speed up quite a bit of it. Yeah, that's one unfortunate thing. But here's one thing though, later on the creator did actually make a second version of this game, and they did actually add in like a fast forward button, which I really have to thank them for that. Great job on that. So I don't know, I think this is probably going into another C. I would say probably mid C would be a good place for it. Alright, next game, Everrise. Is created by, once again, Mac McMorgan, which, if you remember, is the same person who made Brick Odyssey. This one is more like a dungeon crawler, a turn-based dungeon crawler at that, and it's mixed with like a town builder, which, as you can see over here. Here's the thing. I enjoy the dungeon crawling part. I think it's fun, like managing resources, managing your health and stamina. But I did not care that much about the town building part, mostly because I didn't really understand. Because you see, there's quite a lot of stuff that this game tries to teach you. As you can see, the UI overall is like pretty cluttered as well. There is like a lot of stuff that you have to look at. But the thing is that this game tries its best to basically teach you every part of the game. But then when it comes to like more difficult stuff like these gemstones, by the time you get to the game, like teaching you those stuff, you're sort of just like tired at that point. You're exhausted. You just want to get it over with and basically actually play the game. Then you encounter a problem where you don't understand those mechanics. Like when I got to the town building part, I was just glazed over. I just clicked on whatever the game told me to click on, and then I couldn't understand like how to like create more infantry. But I still enjoy the dungeon crawling part. I think that part is easy to understand. I found that it was entertaining. It was fun. So I would probably put it at around here. I would probably put it over TNT. All right, next game. This game is a pretty fun one. It's John's Quest. So in this game, well, what doesn't happen in this game? That's a better question. This is a genre crossing game. It includes several different genres. Basically, it's like 5 games in one. Initially, it is a platformer with its main gimmick being that you can't actually jump. Your main like form of movement besides just going from left to right is that you dash. So that's already pretty unique, right? And then the next part, it turns into this like little space shooters, and then later on, it becomes an RPG, and then it turns into this like first-person exploration game. It entertained me a lot. I had quite a bit of fun playing this game because it's constantly changing. Just when you like felt that, okay, well, I kind of understood, this whole platforming part, I already get its point, okay. And it doesn't need to like introduce like a new mechanic because hell, it introduces an entire new game for you. So we'll probably put it at around A. I think it deserves an A. Will we put it over? I think I'll probably put it over here, right? Somewhere around here. No, what I'm saying is, yeah, I mean, okay, I'll just put it here. There you go. It doesn't need like further explanation. That's all you need to understand. It's peak, okay? All right. How many games have we left? Oh, last one. This is the last one. All right. It's a game called Diorum. So this is also another game that is pretty well made as well. As you can see, it is a pretty interesting art style, sort of like a dark gothic art style, I guess you could say. And you go through a dungeon and then you like use the materials you found in it to like make coins. It's essentially a dungeon crawler. You move around inside of this little dungeon and you have this stamina, which is basically your health. Most action costs stamina, and if your stamina goes to 0, you die. And yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. I do quite like it. I really don't have that much complaint. So I would probably put it around here as well. Yeah. Okay, so there you go. So okay, first of all, I would probably swap TTT 3D and Ghost of Hats, because Ghost of Hats, its main thing is that it's like drab, right? It's boring. Looking back on it, I would say, okay, sure, it's boring, and sure, it's long, but at the same time, it's not exactly to a point where it's like TTT 3D, where I could barely even understand what is even happening. It's around the same level as like Nightmare Pick at a certain point. But like, its only thing is that at least, okay, it's short. I could actually understand the base concept of it. Is just the way that it's presented. It makes it like it's very like difficult. It's very confusing. Ghost of Hats, I'm sorry, you deserve better. This is our tier list. After, I think by this point we've played over 66 games at this point. But yeah, maybe when we got to 100 game, we can do another one. We can add on to this tier list. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you all for watching.